Morning comes slowly to the northern settlement, not with sudden light, but with a gradual softening of darkness along the fjord horizon. You stand at the edge of the water, watching the first pale blue tones gather between the mountains. The aurora that danced overhead during the night has faded now, leaving behind a sky washed in quiet dawn color. Thin smoke begins to rise from the longhouses, early hearth fires being coaxed back to life after the long cold hours. The settlement is waking, but gently, never hurried. Wooden doors open one at a time, figures stepping into the morning air wrapped in wool and fur. Among them are children, moving sleepily at first, adjusting to the cold, to the pale light, to the slow return of daily rhythm. Childhood here is not separate from settlement life. There is no clear boundary between play and responsibility. From an early age, children begin learning the roles that sustain the community, not through strict command, but through steady participation. You watch as one child carries a small wooden bucket, walking carefully toward the water's edge. The bucket is light, sized for smaller hands, but its purpose is real. Water must be gathered each morning, for cooking, for washing, for animals waiting within fenced pens. The child kneels near the shoreline, dipping the bucket slowly beneath the surface, watching the ripples spread outward in the still fjord. Nearby, an older sibling does the same, moving with slightly more confidence. Having repeated this task through many seasons, these early chores are never overwhelming. They are scaled to age, introduced gradually, allowing children to grow into responsibility rather than be burdened by it. You turn from the water toward the longhouses again, where other small routines are already unfolding. A young boy scatters handfuls of grain near a wooden enclosure, feeding chickens that gather eagerly at his feet. He moves slowly, careful not to spill too much at once, watching how the birds respond to each small motion. Beside the animal pens, another child helps brush frost from a tethered goat's coat, speaking softly to it, calming it while the morning cold still lingers. These interactions teach more than task completion. They teach gentleness, patience, awareness of living things that share the settlement space. No lesson is announced, but every action carries learning within it. You notice how adults remain nearby, never distant, but not intervening unless needed. A mother splitting kindling glances toward the children by the pens, watching quietly. A father repairing a fence line offers brief guidance, a nod, a few low words, before allowing the child to continue independently. Responsibility is shared, but so is trust. Children are not expected to master work immediately. Mistakes are part of the rhythm. A spilled bucket, scattered grain, a stubborn animal refusing to move. Each becomes experience rather than failure. The morning settlement fills gradually with layered activity. Wood being stacked, tools gathered, animals fed, fires strengthened for cooking. Children move through all of it, not as observers alone, but as participants woven into the daily fabric of life. Even the youngest carries small bundles of sticks, arms wrapped around kindling collected near the tree line. Their steps are careful, measured, determined to contribute what they can. The work is never hurried. Time moves differently here. Tasks unfold alongside conversation, alongside shared presence, alongside the slow rising of daylight across the fjord. You begin to understand that childhood in this world is shaped by inclusion, not shielded from daily life, but welcomed into it gently, step by step, season by season. And as the settlement fully wakes beneath the pale northern morning, children continue their small but meaningful roles, helping sustain the quiet rhythm of Viking life from its very beginning each day. As the morning settles into its full rhythm, the settlement begins to divide naturally into its many daily labors. Adults move toward fields, toward shoreline tasks, toward craft spaces within and around the longhouses. Children follow, not in all directions, but where their presence can be useful, and where learning can unfold safely. You walk slowly along a narrow earth path leading beyond the main cluster of buildings, where small cultivated fields stretch between low stone borders. The soil here is worked carefully, precious in a northern landscape where growing seasons are short. An adult kneels near one of the plots, loosening soil around young barley shoots with a wooden tool. Beside them, a child mirrors the motion, using a smaller version of the same implement. The tool is lighter, its handle shortened for smaller hands, but the movement is identical. Press, turn, lift. Clear. No instruction is spoken aloud now. The child has watched this motion many times before. Learning began long before the tool was placed in their hands. You notice how slowly the work is done. There is no urgency, only steadiness. If the soil resists, the adult demonstrates again, guiding the motion rather than correcting harshly. Hands adjust position. Pressure is shown. Balance is explained through quiet example. This is how skill passes between generations, not through command, but through repetition, through presence, through shared time in the same task. Farther along the field's edge, another small group works near a woven fence line. Here, children help gather loose stones from the soil, placing them into small baskets. The stones will be used later to reinforce borders, to repair pathways, to stabilize structures where ground shifts during thaw. The work is simple, but purposeful. Each stone lifted becomes part of a larger communal effort. You see how children are given tasks that matter, but never more than they can manage. Weight is considered. Distance is shortened. Effort is balanced with endurance. Nearby, a father demonstrates how to tie a simple rope knot around a wooden post. The rope is thick, its fibers rough against the hands. A child watches closely, eyes following each loop and pull. Then the rope is passed down. Small fingers attempt the same movement. Slower, less precise, but patient. The adult does not rush to correct. Instead, they allow the attempt to unfold, offering guidance only when asked or needed. Skill here is earned through doing, not perfection. You continue walking, returning toward the settlement center, where other forms of learning are taking place. Near a tool bench outside one longhouse, a child sits beside an older craftsperson. Wood rests across the bench, already shaped into early tool forms. The child is not carving yet, only sanding the surface with rough cloth, smoothing edges, learning how wood responds to pressure. Even this early stage carries importance. Before shaping tools, one must understand the material itself. How grain runs, how splinters form, how texture changes beneath the hand. The craftsperson works silently beside the child, their own carving movements slow and deliberate. Learning happens through shared rhythm. Blade against wood, cloth against grain. Motions repeating until they become familiar. You begin to sense how childhood here is structured not by formal education, but by immersion in lived experience. Fields teach patience. Animals teach gentleness. Tools teach focus. Rope teaches coordination. Each task adds a layer of understanding, built gradually across seasons rather than days. There are moments of rest woven naturally between efforts. Children pause, sitting on fence posts, watching clouds drift above the mountains, breathing in the cool northern air. Work and rest are not separate states, but part of the same continuous rhythm. No bell marks the end of labor. No clock measures productivity. Only the movement of the sun, the length of shadows, the needs of the settlement guide the day forward. As morning stretches toward midday, children continue assisting where they are able, learning through repetition, through quiet guidance, through the steady trust placed in their growing capability. And in these small shared labors, skills are passed forward, ensuring that each new generation understands how to live, how to build, how to sustain life beneath the northern sky. As the day moves gradually toward midday, the settlement's working rhythm begins to soften. Tasks that required morning light are slowing now. Tools set aside briefly. Hands given rest before afternoon duties begin. Children feel this shift first, not through announcement, but through the subtle easing of expectation. You walk toward an open stretch of ground near the longhouses, where the earth has been worn smooth by many seasons of footsteps. Here, children gather in small groups, drawn together by the shared pause in labor. Their play is quieter than one might expect, shaped by the same environment that shapes their work. A small wooden ball rolls across the packed soil, pushed gently between two children seated opposite one another. The game is simple, unhurried. Its rhythm slow enough that conversation flows alongside it. Nearby, another group arranges small carved animals in the dirt, creating imagined farms and grazing paths. The figures mirror the animals they help tend each morning. Goats, sheep, horses. Play reflects life, not fantasy removed from it, but a softer echo of daily experience. You notice how older children guide younger ones, explaining rules, adjusting the arrangement of toys, including them in games without hierarchy. Learning continues even here, but gently. How to share space, how to wait turns, how to resolve small disagreements without adult intervention. Laughter rises now and then, but never breaks the settlement's calm tone. Voices remain low, carried only a short distance before blending back into the ambient sounds of wind and distant water. Some children choose rest over play. You see them seated along the sunny side of a timber wall, backs leaning against warmed wood, eyes half closed as they absorb the brief comfort of daylight. One child braids another's hair absent-mindedly, fingers moving slowly, repeating motions learned from watching parents prepare for night. Even leisure mirrors daily ritual. A pair of siblings walk toward the shoreline. Not for chore, but simply to watch the tide shift against the stones. They crouch near the water's edge, tracing patterns in damp sand, observing small shells and drifting seaweed left behind by the retreating tide. Curiosity here is quiet, rooted in observation rather than exploration of danger. The world is studied gently, through touch, through patience, through time spent watching natural rhythms unfold. You sense how this midday pause is essential, not only for physical rest, but for social learning, for imagination, for emotional balance within the structure of settlement life. No one hurries the children back to work. Adults nearby continue their own tasks, repairing nets, sorting tools, preparing food, all while keeping a watchful but relaxed awareness of the younger generation. The settlement breathes collectively in this hour. Work slows. Play unfolds. Rest settles lightly across the community. Above, clouds drift slowly between mountain peaks, their shadows moving across the fjord water below. Children continue their quiet games, their conversations, their small explorations of the world they are gradually learning to sustain. And as midday passes its gentle peak, the rhythm of responsibility will return once more. But for now, this space between labor and evening belongs to them. A calm interval of play, of rest, of growing together beneath the northern sky. As afternoon light begins to soften, the settlement gradually returns to its working rhythm, though slower now, tempered by the long arc of the day. Children rejoin their families, drawn back not by command, but by the quiet understanding that evening preparations have begun. You walk once more between the longhouses, watching how the tone of labor has changed. Morning work carried energy, midday held rest, but evening work is gentler, focused on closure rather than effort. Near one doorway, a child gathers split kindling from a stacked pile, arms wrapped around the small bundle as they carry it carefully inside. The wood is light, chosen deliberately for smaller hands. Inside, it will feed the hearth that warms the family through the coming night. Nearby, another child helps shake woven rugs free of dust and straw, lifting one end while an adult holds the other. The motion is slow, rhythmic, sending faint particles drifting into the low sunlight before settling again. These are not heavy labors. They are acts of maintenance, small gestures that prepare the living space for rest. You notice how children move with familiarity through these routines. They know where tools are kept, where bedding is stored, where water basins must be placed before nightfall. Learning has settled into habit now, no longer requiring guidance at every step. At the edge of the settlement, two siblings walk toward the animal pens once more. This time not to feed, but to help guide the animals inward, ensuring they are sheltered from the deepening cold. Their voices are soft, movements patient, mirroring the calm handling they have watched adults perform countless evenings before. A goat hesitates at the enclosure gate, and one child pauses, placing a steady hand along its side, waiting rather than forcing movement. Gentleness succeeds where urgency would fail. As the animals settle, the children close the simple wooden latch, a small but meaningful act of responsibility completed before night. Smoke rises thicker now from the longhouse vents. Hearths being strengthened. Cooking fires prepared. You step inside one hall again, watching as evening arrangements unfold. Children help unroll bedding furs, spreading them across the raised platforms. Blankets are shaken loose, folds adjusted. Spaces prepared for the shared sleep to come. A parent braids a child's hair near the hearth, fingers moving slowly through the strands, the gesture both practical and comforting. Another child places wooden cups beside a low table, preparing for the final warm drink of the day. Even the smallest contributions carry belonging. No effort is dismissed. Each task, no matter how light, affirms the child's place within the family rhythm. The longhouse grows warmer as fires strengthen, their glow reflecting across timber walls. Outside, daylight fades gently from the fjord, blue tones deepening toward night. Children finish their evening assistance one by one. Tasks completed without urgency, without pressure. They move toward the hearth, toward blankets, toward the familiar spaces where sleep will soon return. And as the settlement settles once more into enclosed warmth, the final transition from work to rest begins quietly, carried forward by routines learned through many calm evenings before. As evening settles fully across the fjord, the last traces of daylight fade from the mountain edges, leaving the settlement wrapped once more in northern night. The sky deepens slowly, blue giving way to black, stars appearing one by one above the still water. You step quietly beyond the longhouse doors, returning to the cool air outside. Smoke drifts upward from the roof vents, rising in thin, pale ribbons before dissolving into the darkness. Inside, families are gathering near their hearths, sharing the final warmth of the day. Children sit close to the fire, their earlier chores completed, their small responsibilities now at rest until morning returns. Boots are placed near walls to dry, cloaks hung on pegs, hands warmed briefly above the glowing embers. The rhythm is familiar, repeated night after night, guiding body and mind toward sleep without the need for words. One by one, children are led to their bedding spaces. Furs are lifted, blankets adjusted, small carved toys placed within reach beside them. Parents move gently among the platforms, checking warmth, tucking coverings closer around resting shoulders. Care is quiet, steady, never hurried. The hearth burns lower now, its flames settling into deep orange glow. Light softens across the timber beams, shadows stretching longer as embers dim. Breathing slows throughout the longhouse. Children sleep first, their rest coming easily after the rhythms of the day. Parents follow, their voices fading, their movements stilling as warmth and fatigue settle in. Soon, the hall holds only the quiet sounds of shared sleep. You step farther from the buildings, standing where the shoreline meets the dark fjord water. The settlement rests behind you, longhouses silent beneath the night sky. Fishing boats lie motionless along the edge of forming ice, ropes creaking faintly with the slow movement of tide beneath them. Above, the aurora begins to return. Soft green light unfurls across the stars, drifting slowly, silently, casting a faint glow over rooftops and frozen paths. It moves over the settlement, over sleeping families, over children who spend the day learning their place within this quiet northern world. Wind travels gently along the fjord, never harsh, only present, a low companion to the stillness. You remain here a while, watching the slow dance of light above the dark water, listening to the distant creak of timber, the faint hush of night settling deeper. Inside the longhouses, no one stirs. Children sleep warmly beneath layered furs, their small tasks complete, their dreams unfolding within the safety of shared homes. The hearths continue their low glow, guarding the night until morning comes again. And beneath the returning aurora, the settlement rests, held in quiet, in warmth, in the steady rhythm of children's lives, woven gently into the world of the Viking Age.